My voice doesn't carry very well, so thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm here to talk with you about setting life intentions. So let me just make sure I got this thing rolling. Here we go. Good, good. And I'm going to try to keep track of my time, but those in the front can kind of flag me if I am off the mark here. My interest in talking about intention really comes from myself as well as trying to help other individuals. For me, it's really about trying to find this most authentic, real, genuine place from which to live my life. And I discovered that if I really focus on what are my intentions and how am I shaping those in my mind, that begins to move that authenticity into my life, into action. So that's what I want to share with you a bit today. And so when I think about where do we start with that, and where I start or where I help other people embark on this process, I really think about that most of our actions are sort of happening with this intent or with choices sort of under the surface, or sort of this undercurrent. So we have this behavior or choice, or we're acting in a certain way here, and it's driven by things that are sort of out of our awareness. We're partially aware, partially conscious, if you will. That's driven by our experiences, positive and negative, as Bonnie spoke about. Sometimes we have some really hard things happen for us, and we've got to figure out how to transform that. And so sometimes there are experiences in there, or sometimes there's a collection of beliefs that are feeding the choices that we're hardly even aware of. Nicole spoke about it as well. And so those things that are driving our behavior are kind of staying under the surface, if you will. And when I think about that process, we often get hijacked, or we get farther down in our life, and we look back and go, wow, how did I get here? This isn't how I want my life to be. And that's in part because it's sort of staying underneath. And setting intention is about changing that. It's about moving that out and making that a conscious, predictable thing. And so, by example, I often have people say things to me like, why do I keep just doing the same thing over and over again? I know this is not good for me. Or why do I keep getting in the same kind of relationship over and over again? What's wrong with me? I didn't think I would be in this place at this stage of my life. Really, wow. And again, I think that's because it's this sort of half-conscious sort of process driving our actions. And what I hope to do for myself and for you today is to spark something here so that you can pull that out of that unconscious kind of way, or subconscious, and make some deliberate, conscious choices through setting intentions. And so when I talk about setting intention, I talk about having some really clearly defined statements that we spend some time thinking about and setting forth that drive our choices, that drive our decisions. And you'll see up here just things that are sort of part of that. Intentions really have purpose. And we have to know, in part, ourselves well enough to know what our purpose is, or purposes. There certainly could be more than one. But if we have those things in place, if we begin to look in that way, we can establish some more direction and hope and inspiration in our life. We can begin to manifest that. So when I think about setting intention, one of the most important things about those statements that we pull out and make a very conscious process is this thing of having them to be emotionally charged. Let's get this going in the right direction here. Oh, bear with me. There we go. That last one. Really important. If we create intentions that carry with them heartfeltness, really emotional power, that's what transforms them. It's part of what transforms them into action. And they really need that quality. We've all set goals, whether New Year's resolutions, whatever those might be. And we discover, sometimes for me in a week, a month, whatever, that I'm not really holding to that. And that's often in part because they don't have these qualities. They don't have that intentional component to that. And that emotional piece is one of the most important to have in that. The other thing that is really important is for us to think about the barriers of when we see, we set these intentions, and what gets in the way of us implementing those. And intentions really can be broad kinds of things, as you'll see some of mine up here, or they can be narrow. It can be more day-to-day, in the moment. They can be either of those things. But the important thing is that they're genuine and authentic to us. And that's an important thing. And so when I was listening to Brene Brown, who's very famous and does some phenomenal work, and she talks about living in a wholehearted way. And she talks about this mantra, and I'm going to paraphrase. She does it far better than I do, but it just struck me as I was listening to her. Her mantra is, show up and be real. And that for herself, how she kind of coaches herself and others is to really think about what she brings into each interaction. And she has this phrase of, I don't want to get small, and I don't want to puff up. I just want to stand my sacred ground. And when I was listening to her saying that on the podcast, I'm thinking, yes, that's it. And I can clearly remember for myself and individuals that I help, absolutely times when I got small, right? Passive, shut down, just go along to get along. And then I also remember times when I've puffed up, right? Like power over, I've got more than you, or whatever that is. And both of those things leave this residual thing on my essence, right? This yuck, because neither of those positions honor who I am and who that other person is. And so when she mentioned that, stand your sacred ground, it just really struck a chord for me of, yeah, that's it. And so there's a technique that we use in counseling where we can we kind of do this mental redo of going back through scenarios that cause us trouble, and we undo them and we correct them. And the more we do that positive mental rehearsal, the more we're likely to manifest that, right? And so I'd go back through some of the really tough things where I got small, or where I puffed up and didn't honor myself or someone else, and try to do the redo on that. And there were many of them that I hit, I'm like, my gosh, I don't know what my sacred ground is. I don't know what my authentic response is in this situation. I just keep getting hijacked into this old stuff, that sort of subconscious stuff, and keep getting tripped. And so part of that process for us is really digging deep into, who are you authentically? What is your sacred ground? What is a genuine response that honors you and honors the other person? And so sometimes the work sits in that. And so we set these intentions. And how I envision that is, I set this intention, and then what I want to do is sort of stand as close to that intention as I can possibly get through my actions, right? On a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. This is who I want to be. This is how I want to feel. This is what I want to manifest in my life. And I want to get as close to that as possible. But the reality is, I'm human, you're human. We all have that history. We have that undertow that just pulls us every now and again. And so sometimes we're operating over here, or we're operating over here when our intention is over there. And we have to, without shame, right? The important thing is, if we're operating over here and our intention is there, our tendency is often to say, wow, I screwed up, I'm not good enough, I can't handle this isn't going to work, etc., etc. And that just stops our process. We really can't move forward when that shame has got a hold of us. And so what I say to folks is, you've got to get objective. You have to acknowledge and honor that you're here and you want to be over there, right up against that intention you set, and understand, how come, what's happening that I can't get over here? And there are real and genuine barriers that we have to take a look at, that will need to be addressed. And let me find those. So it can be those self-limiting beliefs that hold us back, that can keep us over here. We have to become aware of those. And awareness is a huge piece of that. And again, often I have people say to me, I don't know, Mike, I struggle with myself in some situations. I don't know where my sacred ground would be in this particular scenario. I have people say to me all the time, I don't know who I am. I don't know who my authentic self is, so I don't know how to respond to that differently. This is just how I've done it and how I do it, and so I don't know how to change that. So sometimes we just need that knowledge. We need to dig in and figure that out. But one of the things that I find that I really want folks to think about is one of the barriers that will send me over here and away from that intention I've set is what I call emotional black ice. There's a lot of terms for it. For me, it just strikes me as emotional black ice. So you all have had these experiences, I'm sure, where you're going along, and I've had the experience, I'm going along, I'm kind of working, and I'm close to my intention, and I'm feeling pretty good, and it feels like out of nowhere, boom, I end up way over here, and something's really out of control, whether it's an emotion or an action or something has just spun me out, if you will. And I'm going, oh my gosh, what happened? How, wow, what was that? And I got hijacked. Something from kind of that undercurrent just has, just grabbed my legs and pulled them off from under me. And it's equivalent to if you've ever had that experience where you're driving and you hit that black ice. You're going along fine, and the next minute you're in a spin. You did not see it coming, and it's white knuckling it and just praying that you're gonna land somewhere and not get hurt. And that's what it is emotionally as well. Something just, boom, you hit that black ice and you're spinning and you're getting pretty far away from however you wanted to be and wanted to handle this particular situation, emotionally or actions or whatever. And we need to become aware of those situations that put us on black ice. And at least for me, and as I work with other people trying to do this, often the emotional black ice, big stuff, right? I usually need to sit with someone that I really trust and have them help me get objective about it because they're loaded. And so I have to do this sort of post-evaluation of, okay, here's what happened. I was kind of moving along and then bam, I was out of control. My emotions were out of control, or this is what I did or said, and help me figure that out so that I can avoid at least that piece of black ice is digging into a real authentic place and being able to look at those places where you hit black ice and go, whoa, I am way over here. I am really far away from how I want to be. And an important thing about that is to not shame yourself in that process, because that just doesn't work. Some other things that get in our way, sometimes we're too busy doing and not enough being. We get on the gerbil wheel of I have to work enough, I have to make enough, I have to accumulate enough, I have to be this, we're hustling. We're hustling just to be who we are, to just get recognized. And when we get into that imbalanced kind of place, we get out of touch with who we really are. And when we're out of whack in that, it's really hard to live from good intention and from an authentic place. So these are some other things that really can get in our way of being authentic and being who we want to be and living from that space. So the thing for me that really captured this, I was preparing for this and kind of thinking about it. I'm always looking for things that motivate me and help me to stay close, snuggled up against my intentions as I set them. And I found this quote from Diane Ackerman that I just really think captures it. I don't want to get to the end of my life and find that I've just lived the length of it. I want to have lived the width of it as well. And that just, for me, captures what I hope to have happen for myself. And as I'm sitting with and working with other folks, helping them accomplish as well. And so what this has sparked for me is just a greater understanding of how to do this. And I have found for myself, I've created this work that I want to do for myself and others called the Authenticity Project. Just really kind of taking a look at all of these components of really knowing ourselves in this deep, deep place, that I am kind of place, and setting intentions from that so that there's this congruence between who I am and what I'm thinking and what I'm doing, and being able to really, in a respectful way, honor those barriers that are in place and release those and move forward and create an authentic life. And sometimes it's messy and raw, but it's real and beautiful at the same time. So what I hope I've done for you today is just spark something to get you thinking about your own intentions. What drives you? Bring it conscious, pull it up, think about it, create them, and be as authentic as you can. And work your own authenticity project into deeper and deeper layers. And we've got some other great folks that have some great messages for you today. So I hope you'll take all of it and just keep yourself wide open today. Thank you.